Oh boy, it's getting worse for Chinese companies. I'm Ijaz. Welcome back to another video. Alibaba could be losing out on $1.7 billion of credits this year in another crackdown by the Chinese government. Let's look into why, what's causing this, and why more pain for the Chinese listed companies. Well, Alibaba was actually benefiting from a lower effective tax rate. Now, in China, the standard corporate income tax rate is 25%, but for those who qualify as a high-tech enterprise, they were allowed to pay 15%, and even more generous 10% for anybody who are deemed to operate essential software. So Alibaba was given this key software enterprises KSE designation, which came with a 10% tax rate versus the normal 25%. Now, the Tmall operator, Alibaba, forecasts an effective tax rate of 20%. So they announced this in the September quarter. They're expecting 20%, up from just 8% a year ago. So that's a 12% increase in their effective tax rate. And going forward, Alibaba has actually warned that most internet companies, from their understanding, will no longer enjoy the 10% rate. So this is massive. To put this into context, that means a 1.7 billion tax credit will be missed out on by Alibaba. For 2020 September, Alibaba recognized credits of 6.1 billion yuan, which is about 940, just shy of $1 billion, when it was actually renewed last year, because they had their KSE status renewed last year, but it looks like it's not going to be renewed right now, and that's going to lead to a 1.7 billion differential for Alibaba. Now, this move actually reflects what we saw in the other video which I posted, that Beijing is really starting to tighten their regulatory approach, particularly on companies they're deeming to play around with antitrust and some of their data regulation. So it's just yet another hit on Alibaba. Now, in 2021, it looks like Alibaba is going to be paying an effective tax rate of 18%. And that was the same year in which they swallowed, if you remember, a 2.8 billion antitrust penalty, the highest ever by the state. And the company has, like I said, told investors its effective tax rate for 2022 could even rise to 23 to 25%. So to put that into context, guys, 8% a year ago, it's looking like it could be sitting at 18 to 20%, but they're saying it could be as high as 23 to 25% by the time we get to 2022. To make things worse, on Tuesday, Alibaba posted its first sales miss in 2 years for the June quarter. And it just shows that, they did a whole bunch of acquisitions in the online grocery and supermarket space and is yet to pay off. But they did carry out a $15 billion share buyback program, which is the largest in their history, which helps stem some of those losses. So there you go, guys. Another crackdown by the Chinese government. It just goes to show that it doesn't matter how big you are in that country, they're willing to regulate even their best corporates. And that's something that perhaps the states can't say. A lot of the big corporates, there was actually there was a good diagram which showed this, but a lot of the top tech companies are paying very favorable effective tax rates, whether it's Microsoft, Apple, Amazon. And it just shows that if this is going to change in the Chinese space, from Alibaba to Tencent to Meituan, that they can all start paying closer to the normal 25% income tax in their country. Now, interestingly, the state-backed Security Times newspaper produced an op-ed that said that China should scrap tax breaks to gaming companies because now they are big enough to thrive on their own. So it'll be interesting to see what this looks like. And now the other important thing to note here is, this effort for China to bring in more in tax revenues is a global trend. We saw the deal struck between some of the world's richest countries where they said we're going to try to normalize the tax rates to stop companies from jumping between different jurisdictions to try reduce their tax burden. And it looks like China's prepared to do exactly that. So there you go, another tricky moment for the Chinese markets. If you haven't watched my previous video, make sure you go to check that, where I try to break down the 3 or 4 key areas from a regulatory point of view that China are really going after. And that will hopefully help you understand what's going on when we hear all this FUD around the Chinese markets, some of their listings of what's going on. All right, that's it for now. We'll see you guys in the next one.